I chose integrity, but when I think about integrity, it's rooted in truth, equity, and community, because if you do right by people, you'll be able to advocate for them in that way.
Into the death of Coral Springs Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen continued today with her husband officially arrested in her killing and facing a judge. Local 10's Terrell Forney is live in Fort Lauderdale with new details in this case. Terrell?
And Nicole, among those shocking allegations.
Let me tell you about a woman who spent her entire life showing up for other people. Every meeting, every community event, every cause that needed a voice, Nancy Metayer Bowen was there. So when she didn't show up one Wednesday morning in April 2026, the people who knew her understood immediately that something was very, very wrong. Nancy was 38 years old, a first-generation Haitian American, an environmental scientist, and the vice mayor of Coral Springs, Florida. She wasn't just a politician. She had worked in Barack Obama's White House. She had served under former U.S. Senator Bill Nelson, and she had led voter mobilization efforts for both the Biden and Harris presidential campaigns. She was the first Black and Haitian American woman ever elected to the Coral Springs City Commission, and she had just been appointed to her second term as vice mayor. People close to her were already whispering that she was about to announce a run for Congress. Not someday, that Thursday, the day after she was found dead. On the morning of April 1st, 2026, city staff noticed Nancy hadn't arrived for her scheduled meetings. That alone was unusual, but what made it alarming was that nobody could reach her. No calls answered, no text returned. The last message sent from her phone was a text to a city official at 8 a.m. about discussion items for the day. After that, silence. One city staffer reached out to her husband, Stephen Bowen, asking if he could get Nancy to call in. Stephen texted back casually, texted her, "She is not picking up." Then a little later, "Where is she?" "Her car is not at home." Calm, unbothered, like a man with nothing to hide. Except he had everything to hide. Police were called for a wellness check. When they arrived at the couple's home on the 800 block of Northwest 127th Avenue, there were no cars in the driveway and no response at the door. But a detective surveying the outside of the home noticed something disturbing: damage to the exterior walls consistent with force, and markings that looked like they had been caused by projectiles. That's when everything shifted from a wellness check to something far more serious. A SWAT team forced entry into the home. And what they found in the second-floor master bedroom is something nobody who worked alongside Nancy Metayer Bowen will ever be able to unsee. Her body was in the bed, wrapped in blankets and sealed inside black garbage bags. 3 shotgun shells were on the floor nearby, and on the bed sat a pillow, burn-marked, with string threaded through it, fashioned into what investigators described as a makeshift silencer. This was not a crime of passion. Somebody had planned this. If this case already has you shaken, you are exactly where you need to be. Hit that like button, subscribe to Shadow Crime, and click the bell icon so you never miss a story like this one. Because this case goes so much deeper than what made the headlines.
Into the death of Coral Springs Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen continued today with her husband officially arrested in her killing and facing a judge. Local 10's Terrell Forney is live in Fort Lauderdale with new details in this case. Terrell?
And Nicole, among those shocking allegations, police allege that this man killed his wife, the vice mayor, and slept in the same home in the overnight hours. He is now under arrest and being held here at the Broward County Jail without bond. Sky 10 up above as crime scene detectives were spotted still working the Coral Springs home where Vice Mayor Nancy Metayer Bowen was killed. And police say it was all at the hands of her own husband, Stephen Bowen.
Mr. Bowen, good morning, sir.
The 40-year-old appeared before a judge today on charges of premeditated murder and tampering with physical evidence. An arrest report says cops performing a welfare check at the home found Nancy's body wrapped in blankets and black garbage bags in the bed of the second-floor master bedroom.
Would anybody else from the public like to be heard?
The vice mayor was noticeably absent from Wednesday's city commission meeting, which raised alarm bells among her colleagues.
Initially, I just thought maybe there was just, issues trying to deal with work and whatnot. And so we led the meeting.
Stephen Bowen was eventually cornered by cops at an apartment complex in Plantation, where they found his F-150 pickup truck. In fact, police towed away several vehicles tied to the case. It's also where officers handcuffed and arrested Stephen. Investigators believe that Bowen also visited this home in Lauderdale Lakes after the shooting to drop off a rifle to an unsuspecting uncle and to allegedly make a startling admission. Bowen explained that he shot Nancy 3 times with a shotgun the previous night and then slept downstairs, and that Nancy was rolled up in a comforter with a garbage bag around her feet. When asked why, Stephen Bowen said that he couldn't take it anymore. Condolences have been pouring in from around the state for the trailblazing politician.
She's probably one of the most sincere public safety servants that I have met, not just over the last 7 years, but throughout my entire lifetime.
And that was Broward Sheriff Gregory Toney, who of course worked with the Coral Springs Police Department as a sergeant. This was in the years before Nancy Metayer Bowen was elected to her position on the commission. Nonetheless, we know that these condolences, they continue to pour in. There is a candlelight vigil that is planned for tomorrow night outside of the Coral Springs City Hall. One more note we should add, that even though police allege that Stephen Bowen made some admissions to a family member about what he did not do the same thing with detectives. In fact, he declined to speak with detectives, according to these officers, and he opted for a lawyer. So again, this investigation is still ongoing. We are live in Fort Lauderdale tonight. Terrell Forney, Local 10 News.
Now, let's talk about who Stephen Bowen actually was, because this is where it gets complicated. To the outside world, Stephen Bowen looked like exactly the kind of man you'd want your daughter to marry. He was 40 years old, a licensed radiology technician, and the chief operating officer of a nonprofit called Men of St. Luke, an organization built around faith, fellowship, and helping men live according to God's purpose. His Instagram bio read 3 words: God, husband, armed. He posted pictures at shooting ranges. He posted anniversary photos with Nancy. He celebrated their marriage publicly and proudly. On the surface, this was a love story. Nancy herself posted on Instagram in November 2024, just 16 months before her death, a photo of the two of them standing in front of the Coral Springs City Hall seal. The caption read, 2 years with the amazing Stephen Bowen. Cheers to love, growth, and building a beautiful life together. And just weeks before she was killed, she posted again marking 3 years of marriage. 3 years of building, dreaming, and loving each other through everything. Those words hit differently now, don't they? Here is what makes this case so hard to process. Nobody saw this coming. Not her colleagues, not her friends, not her political allies. People who worked alongside Nancy for years said she kept her personal life quietly separate from her public one. There were no visible warning signs, no public disputes, no concerning behavior that anyone flagged. And Stephen's own mother, when interviewed by investigators, said she had no knowledge of any marital issues between the couple whatsoever. None. But now think about what Nancy's life actually looked like in the months leading up to her death. In December 2025, just 3 months before she was killed, her 26-year-old brother Joshua died by suicide. Joshua had battled schizophrenia for years. He was also a survivor of the February 14th, 2018 mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, one of the deadliest school shootings in American history. Nancy had just buried her brother. She was grieving something that most people never recover from, and yet she kept showing up. She kept serving. She kept fighting for her community, even while carrying that kind of weight at home. And here's the part that will stay with you. The very day after her body was discovered was the day she had planned to announce her congressional campaign for Florida's 20th district. People close to her described how genuinely excited she was, talking about gun control, environmental justice, women's reproductive rights, and mental health reform. A friend said she was so excited about all the support she was getting from local leaders, from family, from friends. She was ready. She had a future that stretched far beyond Coral Springs. Someone inside that house decided that future was not going to happen. The day before the murder, Stephen told his mother he had experienced a panic attack at work and planned to talk to Nancy about it that night. His mother thought nothing of it. She had no reason to. But that conversation, that so-called panic attack, was apparently the last thing to happen before Nancy Metayer Bowen was shot 3 times with a shotgun in her own bedroom while she slept.
Tonight, the suspect accused in the death of the vice mayor of Coral Springs has officially been booked into jail. This is his mugshot. Stephen Bowen is the husband of the victim, Nancy Metayer Bowen. She was found dead in her home on Wednesday.
Police are looking into this as a domestic violence related incident. Local 10's Jeff Derderian is live in Fort Lauderdale with what we are learning about this case and the arrests made. Jeff.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, the husband of the vice mayor has been booked, fingerprinted, and charged. He's expected to be in bond court at some point today. As you mentioned, we're also now, new this morning, getting a look at him. Sky 10 hovers over the scene. A neighborhood turns to a crime scene Wednesday. Yellow police tape, cops, and word that the body of Nancy Metayer Bowen, the vice mayor of the city, her body inside her house.
This is being investigated as a domestic violence incident. Her husband, Stephen Bowen, is in our custody.
I don't know what's going on.
Cell phone video shows the scene about 10 miles away. Police surrounding an apartment complex in Plantation. Sources telling Local 10 this is where they nabbed the vice mayor's husband, Stephen Bowen.
From Coral Springs to here, in this particular area, is insane.
Onlookers learning about it all when the cops show up. The entire parking lot blocked off for a time. Detectives combing the area. There were some cars towed away from the scene. They could be tied to the investigation, possibly. Some neighbors in disbelief.
We looked out the window and SWAT cars, cop cars, everything just everywhere, guns drawn.
Metayer Bowen being remembered as someone who went beyond public service and served the people, always working, we're told, to try and make the city better.
There are no words that can truly capture the depth of this loss or the pain this organization and community are now dealing with.
Now, if you or someone you know is in danger, we've got a number there on the screen. You can contact the Florida Domestic Violence Hotline. Here's the number, 800-500-1119. One more time, 800-500-1119 if you or someone you know may be in danger when it comes to a relationship. Now, police say back here live that only one person is involved in this. They say it is the husband. In terms of a motive, what happened inside of that house yesterday? How did this happen and why did it happen? It's a mystery right now. Investigators are not saying anyway. We're live at the Broward Jail. Jeff Derderian, Local 10 News.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. And we know that Bowen's tragic death has shaken up the political community who worked beside her every day. Florida Congressman Jared Moskowitz posting on X that he was just with her on Saturday, describing her as a fighter for her community and that she rather was going to announce her run for Congress. Her colleague and fellow Commissioner Joshua Simmons speaking highly of her contributions. Take a listen.
She led on environmental sustainability here in the city. She led the push to get a sustainable sustainable department here, joined international organizations dedicated to environmental sustainability.
Well, when she was elected in 2020, she became Coral Springs' first Black and Haitian American woman to serve on the commission. Bowen's family releasing a statement saying, quote, while many knew her as a leader and an advocate, we knew her as a sister, a daughter, and a friend whose warmth and laughter filled every room. Her legacy will live on not only in the policies that she helped shape, but in the countless lives she touched. And now condolences are pouring in for the trailblazer, from the Miami-Dade County mayor to a former Tamarack commissioner and even state representative Dottie Joseph, who says that she always showed up for the Haitian community. Our coverage will continue. We have more reaction coming in from the community. We're also going to be following the very latest developments in this case, so stay with us right here on Local 10.
So here is where the story takes a turn that will make your stomach drop. After shooting his wife 3 times with a shotgun, Stephen Bowen did not call 911. He did not call her family. He did not reach out to anyone for help. What he did was wrap Nancy's body in blankets, seal her inside black garbage bags, place her back in the bed they shared, and then go downstairs and sleep. He spent the night in that house with her body upstairs. Let that sink in for a moment. The next morning he woke up, got dressed, and started texting city officials back as though everything was completely normal. When a city staffer asked him where Nancy was, he played confused. When they pushed further, he said her car wasn't home. He was constructing a story in real time while his wife's body was still in that bedroom above him. Surveillance footage later confirmed he didn't leave the house until around 12:09 in the afternoon, nearly 2 hours after city staff had already begun trying to reach Nancy. When he finally left, he drove his Ford F-150 to Plantation, about 12 miles south. But before he went there, he removed a license plate tag from his truck, a deliberate move to make the vehicle harder to track. It didn't work. License plate readers picked him up along SR7. Police began surveillance and watched him pull into a parking lot where he met another man. That man was a fellow Freemason. Stephen handed him a bag, the kind used to carry rifles and shotguns. The man later told police he had no idea what was happening, that Stephen had just asked to meet to discuss an upcoming Masonic gathering. He had no clue he was now holding a murder weapon. The shotgun was later recovered from that location. And then Stephen's own uncle became the reason this case broke open. Stephen had shown up at his uncle's home earlier that morning and told him he had done something to Nancy, that she was not alive. His uncle, Owen Small, pushed him, asked him directly if he had shot someone. And Stephen told him yes, they had shot Nancy 3 times the night before and then slept downstairs. He even described to his uncle what he had done with her body. When Owen asked him why, Stephen said 4 words that investigators wrote directly into the arrest report. He said he couldn't take it anymore. Owen Small called 911. That call gave police the grounds they needed to enter the home without a warrant. Stephen was arrested at 2:35 p.m. in Plantation. When officers approached him, he looked up and said, "OS, they're here for me." He was taken into custody, invoked his right to an attorney, and has not spoken publicly since. A judge denied him bond at his first court appearance. He is currently sitting in Broward County's main jail charged with first-degree premeditated murder and tampering with physical evidence. Now here is what nobody has answered yet, and this is what I want you to really sit with. What exactly could Stephen Bowen not take anymore? Was it Nancy's rising career? Was it the pressure of watching his wife become more powerful, more visible, more celebrated while he stood in the background? Was there something happening inside that marriage that nobody on the outside ever got to see? Because the people who loved Nancy are now left asking whether she was suffering in silence the entire time. One person close to the case described her as potentially living in personal hell, a phrase that feels impossible to reconcile with every public image of this woman smiling, serving, and pouring herself into her community. What we do know is this. Every single day across the world, 137 women are killed by an intimate partner or family member. In the United States alone, more than 70 women are shot dead by a partner every single month. Nancy Metayer Bowen was a history maker, a barrier breaker, a woman who had survived grief that would have broken most people and kept going anyway. And she was killed in her own bed, in her own home, by the one person in the world who was supposed to protect her. So I want to ask you something directly. Do you think Stephen Bowen's motive will ever fully come to light? Do you believe there were warning signs that the people around them simply missed? And what does it say about our world that a woman this brilliant, this accomplished, this loved, could still be so vulnerable behind closed doors? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This conversation matters. And if this story moved you the way it moved me, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that like button, subscribe to Shadow Crime, and click the bell icon so you're always the first to know when we cover stories like Nancy's, because these stories deserve to be told, and the people we lose deserve to be remembered.